Your next truck could bankrupt you.
Thousands of trucks ready for sale, just sitting unused in lot.
And here's why. Millions of drivers are rushing into dealerships, confident they're buying strength, loyalty, and heritage. But buried under the hood are design flaws so severe, entire online communities exist just to warn others. And now, the evidence is undeniable. Which trucks are the hidden money pits? Why weren't we warned sooner? And how do you protect yourself from the trap? And stick around to the very end, because the final truck is the one mechanics, dealerships, and even auction houses quietly warn each other about. Chevrolet Silverado 1500. Few names carry as much weight on American highways as the Chevrolet Silverado, and for good reason. It is the truck that generations of men relied on to haul trailers, load lumber, and pull boats to the lake. The Silverado has a proud heritage stretching back through decades of strong sales and cultural respect. Yet hidden in that reputation is one particular configuration that has proven to be a nightmare for owners. The version equipped with the 5.3-liter 5.8 engine using active fuel management, sometimes called cylinder deactivation, is the dark sheep of the Silverado family. At first glance, the technology sounded brilliant. Active fuel management promised to save gasoline by shutting down cylinders during light throttle cruising. General Motors marketed it as a clever way to combine the strength of a V8 with the efficiency of a smaller engine. On paper, it appeared to be the future. Out on real roads, however, the results were ugly. The lifters that controlled the cylinder shutdown sequence were notorious for collapsing. Once that happened, misfires, rough idle, and check engine warnings were quick to follow. Many drivers experienced sudden loss of power on the highway, forcing expensive trips to the dealership. Repairs were not simple, because the lifters sit beneath the cylinder heads. Correcting the failure often required full removal of the top end of the motor. That meant labor bills running into the several thousands, all for a truck that might repeat the exact same failure again. To make matters worse, oil consumption issues frequently developed as the system wore down piston rings and valve guides. Owners expecting a rugged half-ton pickup instead found themselves fighting a constant mechanical battle. For countless American workers and families, the Silverado should represent loyalty, durability, and pride. Yet in this specific engine setup, it became a trap that drained wallets and tested patience. If you are considering a used Silverado from the mid-2000s through the early 2010s, make sure to verify whether active fuel management is included. Passing on that motor may save you heartache. The Silverado's flaws are serious, yet Ford managed to build an engine that turned everyday maintenance into a nightmare few owners will ever forget. If you're already shaking your head at the Silverado's problems, hit that subscribe button right now. It tells us you're part of the crew that refuses to waste hard-earned cash. Ford F-150. Ask any man who grew up in America what the most familiar truck on the road is, and the odds are high that he will immediately say the Ford F-150. For decades, this half-ton pickup has been the best-selling vehicle in the United States, a symbol of both strength and patriotism. Families passed them down from father to son, and job sites across the country were filled with them. Yet beneath that shining reputation lies one engine that still causes mechanics to groan and owners to shake their heads. The 5.4-liter Triton 5.8, built during the late 1990s and into the 2000 decade, is remembered for all the wrong reasons. At its launch, Ford promised modern performance and improved efficiency. The motor used overhead camshaft designs, and it looked like a step forward from the older pushrod era. In reality, the engine had glaring flaws. The earliest design suffered from spark plugs that would literally blow out of the cylinder heads, stripping threads and leaving drivers stranded. Ford's attempt at a fix made things worse by introducing a two-piece plug that often seized inside the head, snapping during removal and turning a simple tune up into a multi-hour ordeal requiring specialized extraction tools. That was only the beginning. The Triton also earned a reputation for oil sludge building up inside the passages when owners followed the official oil change schedule. This led to clogged passages, starved camshaft phasers, rattling timing chains, and eventually catastrophic engine damage. Once the damage reached that point, even full rebuilds were rarely successful. Many trucks ended up with replacement engines that carried the same fundamental design flaws, meaning the nightmare could easily repeat itself. Despite all this, The F-150 continued to dominate sales charts because of Ford's loyal customer base and massive corporate fleet contracts. People loved the styling, the ride, and the capability, but the engine tarnished the story. If you stumble upon an older F-150 equipped with the 5.4-liter Triton, think carefully before buying. Unless it has meticulous service records and proven repairs, it is best to keep walking. While the Triton left scars on Ford loyalists, Ram's gamble on a small diesel created a story of high hopes crushed by harsh reality. Ram 1500 EcoDiesel. Picture the excitement when Ram announced that its half-ton pickup would finally be available with a small diesel engine. For many buyers, it sounded like the perfect combination of American practicality and European efficiency. A 3.0-liter V6 turbo diesel promised torque for towing, smooth cruising for long highway trips, and fuel economy that left gas-powered rivals in the dust. On paper, the Ram 1500 EcoDiesel seemed like the smartest buy a man could make in the mid-2010 era. Awards poured in, magazines praised it, and customers lined up with their wallets open. But reality has a cruel way of humbling even the most promising ideas. The engine was developed by VM Motori, a company under Fiat's control, and while the design looked solid, the execution left a trail of broken trucks. Early owners discovered serious oil cooler leaks that mixed coolant with lubricant. Exhaust gas recirculation cooler failures caused coolant to vanish, while camshaft gear slippage and stretched timing chains brought sudden catastrophic failure. Some engines even had contaminated engine blocks that simply gave up far earlier than expected, leaving drivers stranded and furious. The troubles did not end with mechanical weaknesses. When federal regulators accused the brand of emissions violations, Ram issued a software update to comply. Unfortunately, this so-called fix robbed the trucks of both fuel economy and throttle response. Owners who once bragged about 28 miles per gallon suddenly complained about sluggish acceleration and reduced efficiency. It felt like the truck had aged 10 years overnight. To be fair, the EcoDiesel still had bright spots. When the engine ran correctly, it delivered impressive mileage and smooth towing capability. For buyers chasing low fuel costs, it seemed like the right choice. Yet the risk of failure loomed so large that many decided it was not worth the gamble. A man buying a truck for work or family wants confidence, not constant anxiety about when the next breakdown will appear. The EcoDiesel left too many drivers stranded, yet Nissan's ambitious partnership with Cummins ended in a collapse even harder to ignore. Nissan Titan XD. When Nissan unveiled the Titan XD with a 5.0-liter Cummins turbo diesel, truck enthusiasts across America thought a new legend had arrived. The Cummins name carried enormous respect, long trusted in heavy-duty rigs that hauled freight coast to coast. Pairing that badge with Nissan's attempt at a full-size pickup seemed like a bold masterstroke. Advertisements promised massive torque, heavy towing capacity, and a unique middle ground between half-ton convenience and three-quarter-ton strength. Buyers imagined themselves owning the best of both worlds, a machine that could work hard on Friday and still take the family camping on Sunday. But the dream collapsed faster than Nissan could print brochures. The reality was that this Cummins diesel was not the tried-and-true straight-six found in Ram heavy-duty trucks. Instead, it was a brand-new V8 design, and unfortunately, it became one of the weakest links in the Titan story. Owners quickly reported turbocharger failures, high-pressure fuel pump breakdowns, and endless problems with diesel particulate filter systems. To make matters worse, the trucks often forced regeneration cycles at the worst possible times, guzzling fuel while leaving drivers crawling along in frustration. As months turned into years, Nissan was forced to buy back units under warranty because customers lost confidence. Entire online communities formed around complaints, and word spread that the Titan XD was simply not worth the trouble. Even technicians familiar with Cummins products quietly admitted that this engine was one they personally avoided. Reliability, the very quality Cummins was known for, had evaporated. The end result was inevitable. Sales remained weak, dealerships struggled to move inventory, and Nissan finally announced the discontinuation of the Titan line altogether. For a brand hoping to carve out a serious share of the American truck market, it was a humiliating retreat. What began with great promise ended as a cautionary tale about reputation not being enough to overcome flawed engineering. And if you thought Nissan's struggles were bad, the next story will truly shock you, because Ford's Superduty lineup in the 2000 decade delivered one of the most notorious diesel disasters ever to roll off a production line. Ford Superduty. Legends are not always born from glory, and nothing proves that more than the Ford Superduty trucks fitted with the 6.0-liter and later the 6.4-liter Power-Stroke diesel engines. On the outside, these trucks looked unstoppable, towering machines with enough presence to make any driveway feel like a construction site. They promised monumental torque and bragging rights for anyone who wanted to own the biggest, baddest truck on the block. Yet under the hood, these engines carried flaws so severe that entire businesses were built around trying to keep them alive. The 6.0-liter Power Stroke arrived in the early 2000 decade, and almost instantly, its weaknesses became apparent. Head gaskets routinely failed because the factory head bolts could not handle the pressure, and once coolant leaked, catastrophic damage followed. Owners also dealt with failing fuel injector control modules, which Ford had inexplicably mounted on the side of the valve cover, exposing delicate electronics to constant vibration and wild temperature swings. Add in collapsing oil coolers and exhaust gas recirculation coolers that spewed coolant into places it never belonged, and you had an engine that seemed engineered for disaster. Many owners described living with these engines as a cycle of false hope. Each repair felt like the last one, only for another failure to appear weeks later. Trucks meant to haul livestock, equipment, and heavy trailers instead sat immobile, turning pride and reliability into bitterness, regret, and endless repair bills. As if that were not enough, the 6.4-liter successor only deepened the frustration. It suffered from the same failures and introduced new ones, including fuel dilution of the oil and turbocharger meltdowns. Replacement parts were expensive, and repair bills often soared into 5 figures. The phrase bulletproofing became a household term in truck circles, as owners dumped thousands of dollars into modifications simply to make the engine somewhat reliable. Without those costly upgrades, survival beyond 100,000 miles was a roll of the dice. For loyal Ford drivers, this betrayal cut deep. A Superduty should have been the ultimate workhorse, but instead it became a financial sinkhole that drained the wallets of hardworking families and business owners. The story serves as a stark reminder that size and style mean nothing when reliability fails. The Titan XD faded out in disappointment, while Ford's Superduty trucks from the 2000 decade became a masterclass in diesel disasters. Chevrolet, Colorado, and GMC. Not every truck failure comes from the giants of heavy towing or full-size dominance. Sometimes disappointment arrives in a smaller, mid-size package that was supposed to replace a beloved classic. When Chevrolet retired the legendary S10, many drivers expected the replacement Colorado, along with its twin, the General Motors Canyon, to carry forward the tradition of simple strength and long-lasting dependability. What they received instead was a strange experiment under the hood, a 3.5-liter inline 5-cylinder engine that never truly earned respect. On paper, an inline 5 seemed innovative. Engineers promised a balance between the torque of a 6-cylinder and the fuel savings of a 4-cylinder. It sounded efficient, unique, and modern. Unfortunately, reality proved far less flattering. Owners complained early and often about severe misfires that could not be solved with simple ignition parts. Instead, the problems often traced back to faulty fuel injectors, or worse, valve seats that wore down and dropped inside the cylinder head. Once that happened, the only real repair involved removing the entire head, a process that became expensive quickly and robbed the truck of any value advantage. Beyond the mechanical headaches, resale values took a brutal hit. Buyers quickly learned that a Colorado or Canyon with the inline 5 engine was nearly impossible to unload without taking a painful loss. Word of mouth spread fast, and these trucks became known as trade-in anchors rather than dependable workhorses. Compounding the frustration, the Colorado and Canyon with this engine used a timing chain system that developed its own quirks. Chain stretch, camshaft phaser issues, and tensioner failures left many trucks rattling loudly or refusing to start altogether. Electrical gremlins haunted owners as well, with random dashboard warnings and failing sensors. For a pickup meant to be a reliable tool, these headaches became unacceptable. The disappointment was particularly sharp because many buyers were nostalgic for the toughness of the old S10. Instead of a modern upgrade, they received a truck that felt rushed and poorly engineered. Some later models offered an updated 3.7-liter version with marginal improvements, but even then, trust had already eroded. For men who wanted a dependable mid-size hauler, the smarter move was to wait for the later V6-powered Colorado or to look at competitors altogether. Trucks are supposed to inspire confidence, and this inline 5 inspired only regret. Superduty owners paid dearly for their loyalty, but General Motors proved that even smaller trucks could deliver colossal failure. Dodge and Jeep 4.7-liter V8 trucks. Every brand has a low point, and for Dodge and Jeep, that low point came in the form of the 4.7-liter V8 engine that found its way into Rams, Dakotas, Durangos, Grand Cherokees, and Commanders during the late 1990s and throughout the 2000 decade. This motor was meant to be a modern alternative to older pushrod designs, a smoother and more refined power plant that could serve across multiple platforms. At launch, marketing departments praised it as the perfect bridge between efficiency and strength, but for countless American owners, it turned out to be a ticking time bomb that defined frustration rather than progress. The issues began with oiling. The 4.7-liter relied on narrow oil passages that were prone to sludge when maintenance was not performed with near-perfect regularity. Once sludge formed, lubrication vanished from critical areas, leading to noisy lifters, scored camshafts, and in many cases, total engine seizure. Valve seats were infamous for dropping into the combustion chamber without warning, instantly causing catastrophic damage. Rocker arms could simply fall off their posts, leaving cylinders dead and performance crippled. For a truck meant to work hard, these failures arrived far too soon and far too often. Owners who used these engines in Rams or Dakotas discovered another harsh truth. Even when the motor stayed together, it was underpowered compared to rivals. Towing capacity suffered, fuel economy lagged, and the trucks felt strained under heavy loads. Drivers looking for confidence often found themselves questioning every mile. Repairs did little to restore faith, since the underlying design flaws remained baked into the engine's architecture. The harsh reality is that many Dodge and Jeep products equipped with this V8 ended their lives early, scrapped long before the body or transmission wore out. Those who managed to nurse them beyond 180,000 miles often did so only through meticulous care, constant oil changes, and sheer luck. It stands today as one of the most infamous engines ever to wear the Dodge or Jeep badge. And with that, our countdown of the worst pickup trucks closes. Remember, choosing wisely is not just about looks or loyalty. It is about protecting your hard-earned money and avoiding costly heartache down the road. And there you have it, the worst pickup trucks of 2025. The ones that look tough, but can quietly drain your wallet and your patience. Now it's your turn. Drop a comment below and let us know if you've owned one of these trucks, or if you barely dodged the bullet. Hit that like button if this list opened your eyes, and make sure you subscribe so you never miss another breakdown or hidden truth about America's trucks. Stay sharp, stay informed, and keep rolling smart. Your next ride depends on it.